with our two esteemed guests here. First off, a man who, long before Phil Foden did, came through the academy and onto the team and struck fear in the opposition eyes. It struck up a great partnership with Mel Quinn in the late 80s, early 90s, and for me, it was one of the best English wingers at the time. Lads, David White. David, what was it like back when you were coming in through the City Academy as a young lad, compared to what the set of his name?
I think we were, me and Andy were talking about it was pretty brutal at the time. I think in football, when you get to the age of, well certainly back then, I felt when you get to the age of sort of 19, 20, you needed to be at the top of your game and be a man, and that's don't happen in many walks of life. So you go from school, you do a 2-year apprentice, you get to grow up, and that was it. You kind of grew up or failed in many ways. So it was brutal to be the wrong word, but tough. You know, it was a real tough upbringing. We had Tony Booker, club legend, as our coach, and Limpardo was his assistant. He was kind of got good cop in many ways, but you know they had to sort it out, and particularly at that time, the club's policy was for us young guys to come through. They were kind of relying on us really to come through, get into the first team and do good stuff, and many of us did. Many of us went on to play for England under-21s and the like. Unfortunately, during that period we had to be relegated before we came back up and tried to establish ourselves. So I think it's very different now. I don't probably know more about the ins and outs of the club and the academy system now than I do. But I do find it frustrating personally where we have under 23 league or team, and it's kind of almost, it's like I told you you should have worn that jumper. Honestly. And you've got the under 21, and it's almost as if you can linger in that under 23 team before you get to the team. For me, I played in the first team before I was 19. I was panicking. I thought this is taking too long, and I was only just out of an apprenticeship, so very, very different. No promise of any great money. I think the mum was earning more on me playing football when I was an apprentice, and I'd say rightly so. I think I was getting £25 a week, she was getting 27. She wasn't even the mum, it was stepmom. But that's just the way it was. It's maybe an old-fashioned view on it, but I think it was right, and I wouldn't change the world if we do that.
Brilliant, thanks. Andy, like I said earlier on, you joined us probably when we were at our lowest and brought us back to the top. What was it like back then to have the interest of a club like City, you know, that wanted to sign you?
Yeah, it was great. I was at Huddersfield at the time, which obviously was the league above, and we were second in the league, and you know we were doing well, and you know I was playing probably. I was in a rig trainer form playing really well, and I had a fallout with the manager, Peter Jackson, and so that kind of played in my favour a little bit. We had a discussion over something, we didn't agree on something, and I ended up throwing the table over the top of him in his office, and it got me the move. I don't advocate doing it for if you're a young footballer, but it got me the opportunity to come to City, and I realised very quickly, well, actually on the day I signed with Michael Branch. I don't know if anybody remembers Branchy. He came in on loan from Everton, and it was all about Branchy because he was going to be the next star coming out of Everton, and I was kind of a little bit in the background. Nobody didn't really know. I got a little interview at the end, and played on the Saturday and scored on my debut. So I realised very quickly what a big club it was and what an opportunity I had. And I knew that I had to do things right and make sure I took this because there's 27,000, you know, at that first game, and then after Christmas, we were sold out every week, 32, 33,000, and when you think Leeds and Forest, who were down there for a period of time, they were getting 12s and 14s. And that's why I believe, and I feel so strongly about it, that, you know, City fans deserve everything they get, because they were there, 33, 34,000 every week when we were playing your Yorks and your Mansfields and teams like that, you know. So any set of fans deserve what we're getting now. They deserve it for their coming through that adversity and their loyalty.
Hey, yeah.
Now, he's both played in famous Man City games in the past. David, you had the Huddersfield 10-1, and of course the 5-1 against United. Andy, the 99 final. So, can you tell us a bit about it? How do you remember it?
So, when we beat United 5-1, which was, I got this the wrong way around, haven't I? I got a brilliant memories of that game. We were, it was a false dawn, we beat them 5-1. It was, I understand now how City fans of that era still feel it was a momentous day, but to me, it just seemed a bit of a false dawn. We got beat 6-0 at Derby within a few weeks of that, and the manager had lost his job, and we were great on that day. And looking back, I appreciate it more now when I speak to fans, and I realise how much of an important day it was for them. And likewise a little bit with Huddersfield. Huddersfield was 10-1. I've kind of come to realise recently that's the last time any club has scored 10 goals. Southampton got done a couple of times, didn't they? I think Leicester, maybe Liverpool. We nearly scored 10 against Birmingham, it was 9. So I'm the last player to have scored a 10th goal in English football.
That's fair.
And that's, even though it was, I didn't even really play that great in the game. I scored a goal from about a yard in the first half. Everything was coming down the left. Paul Simpson, Andy Hinchcliffe. Paul Simpson ended up being man of the match, even though Paul Stewart, myself and Tony Adcock all got 3 goals. It kind of feels as though, I asked the question, why did that happen to me? I feel like something happened to me rather than I did something, and that memory, even though it was a sort of second tier goal and Huddersfield were crap, and Malcolm McDonald, I don't think ever went on to manage anybody, it was just, it's an amazing thing to be able to look back on and say it was part of that, because it is a historic game. So there's loads of games I played in and loads of memories, and again I scored another goal, probably from less than a yard, against QPR. It's his first ever Premier League goal, and I also realised recently I scored City's last ever goal in the old First Division. So they're all brilliant memories, and to have sort of my name against all of them as a Man City fan, from being 2-year-old or 1-year-old or whatever, it's incredible as a sort of a guy who don't have to scroll too much when you've got to put your age in now online. You just have to scroll down forever, don't now? Just over 55, yeah, that's me. It's brilliant to have those memories.
In the history of the state, and the 99 special day.
Yeah, it was, well, who was there? Was anybody there? Well, they brilliant. Yeah, I was there as well. Everyone was there. There was 200,000 there, I think. Yeah, it was a magical day. You know, it couldn't have been scripted any better. You know, I think we should have had a penalty in the first 40 seconds. I don't remember if you watch the video on YouTube. We had a clear penalty after 40 seconds, and then we go. If we put it 2 or 3-0. And when it come for you, we wouldn't have got any credit for that. Nobody would have said, well, it's Man City, they should have won it. But the way it actually, the way the day went, it created something magical. And, you know, I think it was, you know, for me, it was the highlight of my career, because, you know, I'm proud that I'm in the Blackpool Hall of Fame. I'm in the Huddersfield Team of the Decade. from the 90s. But I never quite ever did anything enough. I always sort of did 65 or 70 games and then ended up getting myself into all sorts of trouble. Especially when you're at clubs like Blackpool, it's difficult not to go out. And so I always seemed to, City came along and it was a great chance. And on that day, from a selfish point of view at 2-0 down, I felt all about me on the, because I come off on 72 minutes, because I had my knee operated on in the summer. And within sort of like 10 minutes we were 2-0 down. And I was sat in there thinking my opportunity's gone, because the steps are behind you at Wembley. And I thought, as a young kid, the older generation remember the FA Cup when we were young, and that was something that our whole year revolved around the FA Cup. And I thought I'm going to go up the steps at Wembley and pick a trophy up in front of my dad, my family, and everyone. And it's been taken away from me, and it felt all about me, and the Gillingham bench were obviously next to us, and there's two lads there, Kenny Brown, Mark Flynn, who I played with, and they were waving over and taking the piss out of me, and laughing and that. And then we got 2-1, and I obviously went squeaky bum time. And then when we got the second goal, there was no way we weren't going to win it for me then, especially in injury time, because I don't know if you remember, they had 7 centre-halves on the pitch, so they were never going to score. So it was either going to be us or penalties, and then obviously the way it panned out with Kev Orlock has always asked me to remind everybody that Kev did score at Wembley, and he didn't miss his penalty. Okay, so and it was, when obviously Dickie's got that magical moment that changed history, because the momentum from there grew, and then the following season to get promoted again was a phenomenal achievement when we only brought Mark Kennedy in. So such was the strength of that squad, but we didn't know at the time. We were kind of like, it was sort of hid from us, the reality of if we didn't go up that year, what would have happened. So Weaver would have gone, Dickoff would have gone, Goto would have gone, Michael Brown, Whitley, all them players that were a commodity would have been sold on. And then it would have been about the youth team. So, it could have been like a Leeds or a Forest who have stayed down there for 10 years. So it was a huge game, and, something that, it was magical. I finished the game, and I was speaking about it earlier on. I had my last drink of alcohol in February '99, 23 years ago, and I finished it. And after the game had finished and everybody had left, and I just sat in the change room, and me and Chappie we were finishing up the stuff and all that. I just felt like, I'd achieved something, because Joe Ross wrote in his autobiography that I should have played for Scotland, I should have done this, but if anybody's read my autobiography, you'll know why I didn't, because it got a bit messy at times. But it was an incredibly proud moment, and and something that I say was was a highlight in my career. And if you're picking a trophy up at Wembley, captaining Manchester City, then you've done something.
Yep.
David, you were a local lad growing up in Manchester. What was it like playing against Man United? We see nowadays it looks like they're all pally with each other. What was it like back then when you played Man United?
To be honest, I always felt like we had an inferiority complex against them, and we did. We didn't go into games thinking we're going to beat them today. It was, how can we survive this? It was almost like when I remember playing when City played Liverpool in the 80s, and I was watching, and we got beat 1-0. He thought it was a great result. It was, that's literally because a standard result would be 3 or 4, and so we got to other than the 5-1, we had other results at Maynooth. I think the following game was 3-all. Scoring a goal in the Manchester derby was magical. It was a scrappy, horrible goal I got, the first one, but it was a magical moment. And then I think 2 or 3 minutes later I scored again, and suddenly I scored 2 goals in this game that you've been to and watched for so many years. I should have scored. Actually, we ended up drawing 3-all, but it was I never felt like we'd go to Old Trafford and win. It just seemed like insurmountable, and that's a state of mind thing. That's individuals, and I don't think we had any manager who's putting that belief in us. And I always feel that until probably Kevin Keegan came and seemed to give the team that belief that they could compete on a level playing field with United on a one-off game, be it Old Trafford or Main Road or latterly the Etihad. So it was difficult, and it really was, as you said, living there. It really was an intense thing, and the the Saturday nights and the Sunday afternoons, the guys were on the in the pubs and with the beers. No football on telly back then, so it was their evenings and afternoons were really dependent, and the grilling they might get on a Monday when they turn up to work as well. We felt all that, but I just never felt that we. It just always looked like a mountain too high to climb for us, to be fair.
Andy, when you came into the city, who were the big personalities on the team at the time? And very quickly you became captain. How did that come about?
Well, Kevin Horlock was the joker in the changing room, and when I did Blakely supporters branch in the week with Kev, and it was just a riot. Kev hasn't changed; he's exactly the same, and you need them characters in the changing room, especially when I first went in there. I'm trying not to swear, but Kev literally said when I walked in the changing room, he looked at me and he went, "Oh Jesus, it's not that bad, is it?" That was my welcome from him, and because he obviously heard my reputation or whatever. And but we had really strong. I think sometimes David will agree that you look back at the strength of the team now and the players. When you're in it, you don't really appreciate their qualities and their strength and just how courageous they were as players. And I look back now at that team, and I think it doesn't surprise me what we did the back-to-back because of Dickoff, Goater, Jared Vikens, Danny Tiazzo, Richard Edgeo. There were so many good players in there who were proper competitors. Of course, I took the captaincy from Jamie Pollock, and Joe pulled me into his office and said, "Listen, the lads respect you. Jamie's not playing well at the minute, he's not in the team." He said, "Would you take the captaincy?" I rang Jamie that night and asked him and explained the situation, and he was like, "Yeah," and I took it, and I was very honoured to take it. And back in them days, we used to drive into the ground, and we would park around the back of the Kippax, and you would walk with the fans into the game. And I got announced the captain on a Friday night, and I drove in with my wife and my son, parked up at the back of the Kippax, and about 5 or 6 big meatheads, bigger than me, just walked up to the car and said, "Andy Morrison, is it?" And I said, "Yeah." They said, "You've just been made captain, haven't you?" I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Get it fucking sorted out." And I was like, "Right, yeah, no problem." But what I learned and what I understood was it was their club, it's their team. And they just drawn with Gillingham last week 0-0 at home, and they probably in the pubs afterwards say, "I'm not going again, we've had enough, this is bollocks, like where we are," whatever. And then the following week they're there again, and they're there again, and it's their club. So I got it straight away. I understood what it meant to them, and I was, I played, I think, 42 games in all, and that's all I played, but it was such a positive period, in my career, and like I say, so honoured to be given the captaincy as well. And to say that you're captain of the club, like Manchester City, especially where we are now, I can see me one day in an old people's home and they'll be saying, "Yeah, you play for Manchester City." But yeah, it is, and I'm incredibly proud, and we get opportunities. I still do match days at City, and I get asked to come across here, and it's an honour for us to come across, and share an occasion like this at 10 years. Very, very privileged and still lucky, because all I did was play football. I just did what I'd done, and and a byproduct of that. And I think what you got lads that have come through the academy and played for the club, and somebody that's come in and they give everything every game. That's all fans ask for. If you can play a little bit as well, like David, it's a bonus. But when fans have got players who give everything on the pitch, your Sabalettas, your Vincent Companies, people warm to that. And the byproduct of that is I can come across here and say, "Where are we? Is it Dublin?" Give me a warning on the way across.
Okay, then, one for both of you, tough one, or maybe it'll be easy. Looking back on your careers, what would you say was the best moment of
best moment of my career. I think the recognition, like you had loads of I'll tell you a little story happened to me recently about recognition. Because when you play, it's nice for a couple of guys come up to me tonight and said, you're my favourite ever player, and it's so nice. And you didn't get recognised as a player. And so when COVID hit, I couldn't carry on doing what I was doing, my wife couldn't carry on doing what she was doing. And she said, I'm going to start making cakes, which she did. She started making brownies. Can you hear me? No? Yeah. There we go. So she started making...
Turn off.
Yeah. Any good?
No, we can still hear you. Okay.
At least we're bleeding good this now, isn't it? Right. Oh. So she's... Jesus. She started making cakes and brownies. And I said to her, I said, it seems to be going okay. I said, I've nothing to do, otherwise I'm stuck in the house. I'll go out and do your shopping. I can deliver brownies for you. And I think it was great for me because it meant I could get out and see people. And about 3 months later, I was walking around food warehouse or quality somewhere, buying stuff for Emma. And I saw a City shirt in the distance and I thought, oh, I'll go and have I didn't go up and have a chat with this guy, but I thought he'll recognise me. He'll say hello to me. And so I'm like picking up butter and flour and this, that, and he's getting closer to me. I think in a minute he'll say hello. And he looked up and he said, it's David, in his City shirt. I said, yeah. He said, your wife makes fucking lovely cakes. And he just walked off. Anyway, thank you, I'll tell him. But there's another one. I'll tell this very quickly. I was in, so I separated from my ex-wife, quite amicably, got 2 older kids, remarried, stepdaughter, and then we'd had 2 kids. So I've now got an ex-wife, a wife, 2. 4 kids instead of 5. I didn't know what I had. Anyway, I ended up in an infinity pool in Tenerife, this beautiful sunset, and I've got my wife and all my kids, and everyone's getting on. I thought this is, because it can go bad, can't it, when you say that? Oh, this is absolutely brilliant. And there's some lads from Sunderland. There are 3 or 4 brothers, 2 of them are pissed asleep, and there's this one's at the bar, the other guy's talking to me, he's called Kevin. And we're just having a laugh with each other and this, that and the other, and I said to him, you're a Sunderland supporter? He said, yeah. I said, well, we stood in the pool, me, Kev, and my son Sam. I said, who's your favourite ever Sunderland player? And he says, you know something? I think it's, I'm going to say Niall Quinn. Oh, that's all right. So my lad Sam says, points to me, he said, he used to play with Niall Quinn. So this guy looks at me up and down. Well, you were a footballer. So I'm thinking, I'm not an aggressive, I just thought, you know something, I'm just going to let that go. I've got this brilliant thing going on, all my kids here, I mean, the infinity with them, everything's fantastic. My 2 little girls, I'm just going to let that go. And I did let it go. I bought him a drink, he bought me a drink, he's a nice guy. Anyway, a little bit later I said to him, what was your first season supporting Sunderland? He says, it was 91. So I said, oh right, okay. Did you just go to the games? He said, he said, couldn't go to the games, my mum and dad were working, I was at my nan's every Saturday afternoon. I used to be in my bedroom at my nan's listening to the games on the radio. I said, oh right, okay. I said, well, how'd you go on that year? He said, I can't believe it, we got relegated. I said, oh wow, do you get relegated early on? He said, no, we got relegated last game of the season. And even worse than that, we got relegated with a diving header last minute of the last game of the season. I said, I know I fucking scored it.
I've already spoken about highlights, and for me, I made my debut at 17 for Plymouth Argyle, and now I grew up in Plymouth and ended up playing for them, and it was a big moment. I was just on my 17th birthday, so that there, and obviously at Wembley picking the trophy up, because I didn't, I had my leg, I had an injection in my knee before the game, and I had my knee drained at half time, and fluid was that bad, so I needed to get operated in the summer, and I played I think about 10 games the season after, and I just never, my knee went, I ended up having 13 operations on my left knee, so my knee was shot to bits, and I never played again after City, so that, I didn't know at the time, but that was it, that was the highlight, and a long journey to get to there, but it's not a bad one to remember. And when you talk about like I said, you talk about the highlights of your career, when you know that you underachieved because of your extracurricular behaviours off the pitch, well publicised at the times, but incredibly proud, because if you read my book and you know my story, at some points I massively underachieved, but I think the talent I had, but the life I had and the challenges I had to actually play in the Premier League for two different clubs, Blackburn, McKenny Dalglish and City. I must have been alright at football. I didn't just head the ball and kick people.
So we'll have a couple of questions from the floor here now. First one is for Andy. Andy, do you think that Man City's current success is contributed by the promotion gained in the 99 playoff final?
No. It's because we got a manager called Pep Guardiola and incredible footballers. Listen, it's a moment in time. It was just a part of that journey of Manchester City, and after that there was promotions, relegations, and City were always would be a mid-table and then pushing for a good season. But obviously, nobody's naive not to acknowledge the fact that when we actually took over, and then the investment, but that investment has to be invested correctly. You've got to get good people in. And I'm lucky that I work on a match day and I see what the match day, the match day entertainment, and actually what fans get when they go to a game. And from the very top, there's so many people working at the highest level. From the manager all the way down to the staff and everything. So there is investing, but there's other clubs that have spent as much, and they're struggling to get in the top four. So it's an incredibly well-run club, and we just played a small part along the way. I'd love to be able to say it was. Of course it was. It was that 99. I was a captain there. But it's a different world now compared. I spoke about getting out of the car and walking through the fans, and if the result didn't go well, we used to, and they would have been the same. We would stay in the players' lounge and look out, and one of the security would say, "It's clear." Off you go, run. And we'd run to our cars. It's a different world altogether now. They're celebrities, they're superstars. But in the history of the club, we all played a small part.
Okay, this is for David. David, who's the bigger club, City or Leeds? No bullshit now. That's what it says here.
I asked the fucking question.
Well, City are not as big a club now, but when I went to Leeds, the best time it felt like a miles bigger club. And but you need to put some context on that, because the things that happened in football in general at that time, in terms of, I guess, player welfare and preparation and stuff like that. I mean, we'd get changed at Main Road and run on concrete every single day of our lives to Flat Lane. Think nothing of it, but I'm absolutely certain that contributed to me, massively contributed to me being finished by the time I was 30. we'd go to an away game in London, and we'd have a picnic, one of them sort of frozen, not frozen, picnic boxes on the coach with pre-made burgers that would be microwaved on the way home, and that's what we'd eat on the way home from games. So when I say a step forward, I don't know. The meals we had on the coach at Leeds were Marks and Spencer's. We still microwaved them, but Leeds just, it felt like a much better club. That may have been more about the players, because Howard Wilkins, in terms of Gary Speed and Gary McAllister and Gordon Strachan, he had some amazing footballers. And the fit, I thought I was fit when I left City, and I was just about in the sort of top third of in terms of fitness at least. I just about made it used to pre-season. They split them into Group A, B and C. At City I'd be right at the top of Group A. I was lucky just to be in Group A at Leeds. So Leeds felt like a miles bigger club then. There's no comparison now.
No.
Okay, here's one for the two of you can answer. Who was the nicest player you ever played with, and who's the biggest prick?
Who was the biggest prick? Sorry. I'm never ever going to answer that one, because you just wouldn't do that. The nicest player, I don't know. Everyone was a nice guy. Quinny was a great guy. Obviously, yeah. I like, to be honest, I think I liked everybody. I roomed with Ian Brightwell for a long time.
You would answer that.
Let me think. I'll come back with an answer in a bit.
Yeah, what was the question?
The nicest.
The nicest player, Jared Beacons.
And the biggest prick?
Biggest prick.
Are we talking in the shower? Or... He's smiling. No, you wouldn't. I wouldn't. Listen, you don't get on with everyone. I was pretty fortunate, but I got on with lads, but you always respect each other. But there's times you don't go mix with each other afterwards and that, because you don't particularly like the way he does things. But there's nobody that untoward.
Who? Right here.
I never played with him.
Good answers, lads. And the last one from the floor was, what was it like to captain the 99 final? In all honesty, how did you feel?
Yeah. But let's talk about it again. No, listen, like I say, incredibly proud and very lucky. Whatever said in life, anyone that's in here will agree that you need breaks in life. You need an opportunity, a door to open. And I got an opportunity, and incredibly proud to captain this football club in a game of that size. So I've said it many times, and I will keep saying it. I'll be talking about it for the rest of. I want to get in that old people's home. I'll be saying, "I captain Man City," and they will say, "Yeah, just sit down there."
I'm pretty right. So the questions, I am picking a winner from what was it like to captain in the 99 final. Something I can't see without my glasses. Do you think Man City's current success is contributed with that one? Which is the bigger club, Leeds or City? Who's the nicest at that one? I think I suppose the most poignant question, so therefore the best, is what was it like to captain City? It was an incredible game that in my view, we should have never got to. And that's not a slight on any individual, it's just like on the club. We should never have ended up, these guys should have never have ended up in that position, but having got to that position and where they got to in that game, to turn it round was incredible, and for Andy to be the leader must be such a proud moment for him. So that's, for me, the best question. And don't touch you one.
Sienna Guyman. The winner for the question.
I'd say that's, is that not Gwynedd?
Huh?
Guyman.
Guyman, yeah.
Sienna Guyman is the winner. Yeah, welcome Sienna.
Sienna, stand up.
Oh, go on,